My question is this.
Right.
Do these polls hold? And if so, why?
Well, Sean, there's a reason that 45,000 people have contributed to my candidacy. You have the outrageous cost of living. The average price of a home in California, because of the environmental extremists that he doesn't want to stand down, costs 150% more than the average price of a home in the United States. You add it all up, this guy has got to go. And as you pointed out, more people now want him to go than want him to stay, and he's very, very nervous. If Andrew Cuomo isn't, he sure is.
Goodness. And as to government-required paid family leave, in English that means when an employer is forced to pay for mandatory family leave, that employer simply deducts the value of that from the wages of the employee.
There's a huge election happening next month, and you might not have heard about it. It's the recall of California Governor Gavin Newsom. If, like me, you knew about the election but had no clue who was running to replace Newsom, let me introduce you to the leader of the pack, Larry Elder.
The minimum wage law destroys jobs for the very people that the left claims to care about.
Elder is running on a truly remarkable platform centered around his belief that the minimum wage should be, wait for it, $0. I'm Caroline Johnson. Thanks for watching. Elder, a lawyer turned talk show host, is baffled by the idea that the government can help establish fair wages. Why two people who are adults can't determine what the price of labor ought to be is beyond me, Elder said. So yes, this recall election is truly a wild charade of who's who in the state's fledgling, pathetic GOP, but it's actually really, really important to vote. And yes, despite Gavin's flaws, we do need to keep him in office. Despite the laughable quality of the Republican candidates, as Democratic energy fizzles, the recall is now, quote, within striking distance, IGS poll director Mark DeCamillo said in a new interview. Newsom has received criticism from the left in the past year for disastrous policies, notably on climate legislation and waffling on COVID guidelines, but for all his shortcomings, it's better than this.
We have been demonetized by YouTube, so to get me unbridled, uncensored, and on demand, go to LarryTube.com. That's just LarryTube.com.
The tricky part of this election and why it's so important to vote is that so much is actually stacked against the incumbent governor. A lot of folks don't know this election is happening, so many people aren't going to vote. Politico notes that Republicans represent a quarter of the overall electorate but comprise a third of the most likely voters, while Democrats and no party preference registrants are disproportionately less likely to vote. A resounding 87% of Republicans expressed the highest level of interest in the election, versus a little over half of Democrats and independents. Grassroots organizers, who typically do the best voter outreach and public information campaigns, are dealing with quite a few crises right now, from the long-term effects of COVID on everything from the housing crisis to vaccine outreach, which is a bit more urgent than Newsom's recall campaign, but it means that fewer people are out there doing the work of getting voters this info. Politico also noted that Team Newsom is confronting a turnout problem. The Republicans who propelled the recall to the ballot are, unsurprisingly, super excited to cast their votes. Democrats, less so. That galvanization gulf could allow Newsom's foes to make up for enormous voter registration and fundraising deficits. We've been in the position before where we're caught on our back heels, assuming the establishment qualified liberal will win by a landslide, only to be shocked when a bumbling right-wing menace takes it all. And we can't let that happen again. Okay, now that we've hopefully established why you should vote for Newsom, let's get to the how and the when. So when is this election? The election is September 14th. Local election offices have started mailing ballots already. How do you vote? Every registered voter will get a ballot in the mail. There will also be in-person polling sites. You should check your registration status, and the deadline to register is August 30th. Like the last elections, you can track your ballot when it's mailed, when it's received, once you vote, and when it's counted by visiting california.ballottracks.net. What does the ballot say exactly? It asks, shall Gavin Newsom be recalled from the office of governor? A yes vote is against Newsom and is to kick him out of office. A no vote is for Newsom to keep him as governor. So the answer to that question, once again, so that we don't get stuck with this,
Minimum wage law destroys jobs for the very people that the left claims to care about.
Is no. Newsom should not be removed from office. You're welcome, Gavin. Thanks so much for watching. You can follow me on all platforms at Caro Johnson 917.